Okay, so today's video is going to be about telephoto lenses. Basically, a telephoto is anything longer than a standard sort of zoom level. Generally, like a standard zoom lens would be like a 24-70. So for the purpose of this, I'm considering anything higher than sort of that 70mm-ish is going to be telephoto. And I don't have any telephoto lenses on my camera. This lens right now is at 12-60, and right now it's at 12, and I can zoom all the way into 60, and yes, it's significantly more zoomed. However, this one right here on this camera that I'm borrowing has a 70-300, and that is going to make a significant difference compared to the 60mm that I can go up to on this. So now if you think about it, it kind of makes sense that telephoto lenses are meant solely for long distance stuff, so you can make things that are far away look closer. And yes, that is definitely true. Like, you can see these photos of people walking up the hill over there that I took, and it makes them look a lot closer, and you can get sharper images at distance without having to, go way closer to the subject. But what telephoto lens can also be good at, particularly if they can focus fairly close, is they can be really good at subject isolation. Especially the greater the distance between the subject and the background is. And to show this, I'm going to take photos of this camera from as close as I can get at the focal lengths on this lens. You really see the separation between the subject and the background. So telephoto lenses are very often used for bird photography, wildlife photography, sports as well, because it's unreasonable to get close to those subjects a lot of the time. And they're also used for things like interviews, for like a second angle. You can really focus in on that one subject, like I was talking about before, the isolation, as well as portraits. If you really want to isolate a subject and sort of blow out the background and not really have it be a main part of the image. But one of the reasons that I want a telephoto lens is to do stuff like this, where I can have, a talking head sort of shot, and it's just a very different look, and I really like the look of a telephoto lens. So now, while I don't shoot wildlife, sports, anything like that at the moment, it's still something that I very much want to utilize in making these videos, just in photography as a hobby in general. I also enjoy, when I just go and take photos, to take photos at longer focal lengths, like I mentioned before, because it gives that certain look and can really focus in on what I'm actually taking the photo of. And I just feel like a lot of the time, a wide angle just doesn't give any sort of sense of subject unless you really make it, I don't know if that makes sense, but we'll go with that. So one thing that I just noticed then, but it's something that I was going to talk about, is stability. Now, not only for photos, but also for videos, obviously, because you want to be stable for videos. But at higher focal lengths, it is much harder to find your subject, because you're so zoomed in, you can't just see it unless you're looking already at it, because your field of view is just so much smaller. It's also harder to stay on the subject, especially if you're waiting for, an autofocus system that doesn't snap onto it really quickly. So it's definitely harder to take photos handheld and of moving objects if you're using a longer lens. You'll see a lot of the times people with, big telephoto lenses will be using a monopod or a tripod or something like that, pretty much all the time, especially with sports and stuff like that. It definitely would help. What would also help is having, one, a fast shutter speed, so enough light to, utilize a fast shutter speed, fast burst speed on cameras as well, so, even if you have to take a burst of 10 photos, maybe one of them will be good, as well as a reliable autofocus system in the camera, which this one does not have, and neither does this. But it's what I've got at the moment, so I'm going to have to deal with it. Lens and image stabilization would also greatly help with both of those things. A lot of lenses do have built-in stabilization, and most cameras these days have built-in stabilization, which work for both photo and video. Now, for photo, it's more about preventing motion blur from the camera moving, but in video, it's really just about, keeping the frame steady, and it's not all jittery or shaky or anything like that, especially if you're doing it handheld. Hello.
Might knock it over.
She'd knock it over. One of the things that I'm going to use a telephoto lens for, once I get one because most of the time all my B-roll is shot on my 25mm 1.7, just because it's the only prime lens I have with a decently low aperture. But if I can get a nice telephoto lens or even a telephoto prime, then that'll be great for B-roll, like an 85, 135, like that sort of thing. It would be great for shooting B-roll, particularly with like products and stuff when I do videos about products. That's another big use for telephoto lenses, higher focal lengths in general. So just for a little bit of a demonstration and comparison between these two cameras, this is 12mm on my G85, which is a micro four thirds sensor. And then I'm going to zoom all the way into 60, and we're at 60 now. And then this is 70mm on the Nikon D3500, and then I'm going to zoom it in to 300mm. And as you can see, it's a little bit less stable, like I am just holding this handheld, so it's not going to be nearly as stable, but it is significantly more zoomed in. Also, here are some of my favorite photos that I took, or just some of the photos that I took, just sort of to show what it can be used for and what I use it for, at least today. So, took some of the moon. I ended up getting one jet ski, even though a bunch went past, but I missed most of them. Some dogs, some people. Yeah. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoy, I hope you learned something. I mainly just wanted to make it because I had the idea, and I don't have this camera all the time. I don't have this lens all the time, so just wanted to sort of test it out a little bit. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Do all the things down there, like, subscribe, and whatnot. And I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.